to all. This is Alejandro Bratti from Believe It Yourself, Believe in Your Business, and welcome to the Spanglish World Networks on Single TV channel 250. Please remember to download both the Single TV app on the respective app stores, the iOS and Android. While you download, make sure to rate and leave a comment. The app is free and is available in Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Roku, and all smart TVs. Today, I am very happy to have my good friend Evan with us today. So, how are you, Evan?
I'm doing great. Grateful to be on here and having you invite me. Thank you.
Let's start with the little Yoda that you have there. That is really good.
That's my inner coach. I tell people, but I also have my inner critic here too.
That's good. But it seems, from this perspective, it seems that it's already talking to you, the baby Yoda there.
Well, I'm a mindset coach. So a lot of what was given to us through Star Wars and that story is about mindset, the force versus the dark side. And I do a lot of that work with my clients.
Yeah, that sounds really good. And I know that we're going to go deep a little bit during the conversation today. Let's start with what you are doing, more about the mindset. I know that you are doing something about diets and other things. So tell us a little bit of that.
Well, I'm a health, wellness, and mindset coach. Business is called ProAttitudes. What I do is I work with business owners and business leaders who are struggling. They're struggling as they climb that ladder to success because they left their health behind. And do they really want to live the way they're living? I want them to live with more energy and more joy. And I do that with my program, what I call the B3 way. And the B3 way is to become, be strong, be grateful. I help people to transform, to let go of that old way of thinking, to let go of the Darth Vader and start the inner critic and start listening to their inner best friend, their inner coach, so that they can become the person they want to. And I focus, because I'm a dietitian, a diabetes educator, and I also have a master's in clinical nutrition. I focus on helping people lose weight with their mind, not their mouth.
And let's go a little bit back on your life, because why you started to like this? What happened before? Like, just guide us to a moment where you were like, I didn't like that, but I started to struggle in some things of my life. Tell us a little bit of that created, like, okay, that's why you are here doing this.
Well, I was my first client. My nickname in high school and junior high was Heavy Evie. I got bullied for being overweight and out of shape, and it was not fun. And I had to really take the bull by the horns and say, looking in that mirror, say, you know what? I'm the only one that can do something about it. And I decided to change, but one habit at a time, because the diets didn't work. I just didn't like them, but it worked. I was able to lose the weight, get in shape, but I did it over a summer, a period of time. And that transformation made a difference. It made me appreciate really that I could take better care of myself and really get back on that path that I wanted to. And that's why I chose to go to school. And I learned through getting a master's in clinical nutrition. I wanted to understand what it was that I was able to do for myself so I could help other people. But I also had a lot of family members who were dying from heart disease, diabetes, cancer. And that challenged me also. Like, what's going on here? So I really want to understand wellness, fitness, wellness, but I wanted to understand chronic and critical illness too. So that's where I spent a lot of time working in the ICUs, intensive care, and I worked with cardiac rehab. I worked with people who are critically ill. Then I worked with diabetes and heart disease. And then I worked in a health club so I can understand how to, and worked with athletes too, so I could understand how do people work, what's the role that nutrition, mindset, and lifestyle plays in our health.
So and I know that we will continue here. Just I just want to hear, because if somebody that is listening to us, maybe they are in that struggle at this moment, uh, they they can see that you understand exactly what's happening. So in the process of when you started to like change your habits, what happened? Which habits you started? Did you do it by yourself, reading something, or help with some help with somebody? How was it?
It's a great question. I wish I had had a coach, but I had gone to the doctor, and the doctor had told my mom, I literally weigh less now than I did when I was 13 years old, 14 years old. And the doctor said I had high blood pressure, high cholesterol, I was overweight. And he said, this kid, with diabetes in the family, he's going to end up really sick if he doesn't do something about it. So that was scary. Plus, my grandmother just passed from heart disease. So um, it was those things, looking at those things that, and knowing that I didn't want to end up that way. Right. So, but what happened is that I found from the American Heart Association, there was this pamphlet on 50 ways to lose your blubber. Remember, I don't know if you're old enough to remember Paul Simon's song 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover. So the American Heart Association had this pamphlet, and I picked it up and I started to do one habit at a time. And these habits were simple, like eat at one place in the house. Don't eat any place else. So I couldn't eat in front of the TV anymore. It said to do things like put the fork down between bites. I never thought about slowing down because I used to just shovel in the food. Finish half of what's on your plate, come back 20 minutes later. If you're still hungry, finish it. So I started to do all those little things. And amazingly, I started to lose weight, but I changed my habits. I changed my relationship with food. And that's really what it is. It's going deeper. Most people today are blindly imitating what they did yesterday. They'll go on a diet on Monday, but they get frustrated because life happens and they cheat. They're on or off. And by the end of the week or that weekend comes, they find that they've got an empty ice cream carton that they just finished off, and they said, okay, I'll start on Monday again. And it's that same cycle. They're in this, what I call this trap, this diet trap. Don't you want to break out of that prison? To me, it's not about going on a diet or going on an exercise program. It was changing my relationship one habit at a time, one choice at a time. And that's really what helped me. And now I spent my time taking a deeper dive into psychology, understanding obviously nutrition, but that's only a small piece of it. Understanding how you think, how the brain works, and the neuromodulators like dopamine, adrenaline, and serotonin, and oxytocin, all of those working in concert with you or against you.
Yeah.
So that I've incorporated all that into my program so that I can help people so I don't have to struggle the way I did.
So when you are talking about habits, and I agree, and I really love what you are saying, because habits are really something that help us change everything.
Mhm.
And what you are saying is for anybody that is listening, it's really important. Is talking about little habits. It's like not like, okay, I want to change, so I'm going to throw everything that I have here, and I'm going to start over. And each time that you want to start over is like taking out everything. No, start to think about little things that you can do. So how many habits you were implementing at the same time?
Usually, when I work with somebody, I only focus on one habit at a time
Okay.
to get that habit to change. Literally, it doesn't happen overnight. But if you start really tiny, I work with my clients using what I call a commitment log. They have to make 3 commitments that they're going to focus on for the week, because usually it takes a week of time to judge whether they're keeping their commitments or not, and then to understand, well, what's getting in the way, and then we'll take a look at what were they successful with. But the idea is not to do more than one. Not the things like these behaviors could be combine, but the bottom line is we start with, let's say, water. Or we'll start with going to bed at the same time and waking up at the same time for 1 week. Or we'll focus on like one specific habit. And that habit, they'll go, oh, that's not enough. I just try, humor me. Just do it. What happens when you make a commitment and keep it? You make a deposit. Just like you make a deposit in your bank account every time you get a paycheck, that money in the bank is freedom, right? You get to choose. If you spend more money than you have no freedom. You're a slave to the next paycheck. Well, it's the same thing with habits. If you make a commitment and you make a deposit, you suddenly start feeling like, wow, I can do this. You feel capable. And that gives you the confidence to make another commitment and keep moving forward. That confidence builds your ability to make a commitment, and then you have the courage, or you have to dig deep down inside and say, I need the courage to keep going. You do it, then what happens? You end up feeling capable and you have more confidence, and it's a wonderful snowball effect. But people like to bite off more than they can chew. So they'll say, I'm going on crazy. There are so many crazy diets today. I'm going on the keto diet, or I'm going on the carnivore diet, or I'm going on I just saw the cabbage soup diet came back after 40, 50 years. I'm like, I can't believe Facebook is promoting this. But it's short term. Or I have another client says, oh, I'm going on a cleanse. It's not sustainable. You can't just go on liquid diets and say, well, oh, I'm cleaning out. No, your body cleans out continuously. It's not like going on a cleanse or just eliminating food is going to allow you to cleanse your body. You can do it while you're eating. And I help people not just change their eating, but change their health. We improve whether it's changing the way you think, but it's also changing the way you eat and changing the way that you live, and improves your cells. It also improves longevity, managing diabetes. All of these are part of, it's part of the piece of the pie of health. Eating is only a small piece of it, but there's so many other things that people can focus on to live a healthier and more joyous life, having joy, instead of constantly being stressed about, what am I going to eat? Oh, I don't want to exercise. And then worrying about getting on the scale.
So now we are talking, you have that law. What happens if I sleep and I fail one time in the whole week? What happens if I start to feel, and even when it's a little one, it's like, oh, I forgot and I didn't do it. What are the things that you are doing after people start to try to
It's a good question, because the most important thing to realize, although I'm an accountability coach too, I mean, that's part of what I do it based on success, not the failure. Habits take a long time. There's a rule out there that they say it takes 21 days to build a habit. That's not true. It actually can take almost a year, the research shows, and every person's different. But sometimes you can gain a habit in a week just because it's important to you. But the first step is awareness. What are you doing right now? Be a fly on the wall and be aware of what you're actually doing that's working for you and what is working against you. What's self-defeating? And then when you do make a commitment and you're not able to keep it, instead of beating yourself up and allowing that inner critic to beat yourself up, oh, you're no good, you can't do this, you're a failure, focus on the wins. I always focus on the wins with my clients. What did you succeed at this week? And we start there. And when they hear, because they don't want to start there, they want to tell me all the mess ups they had. And I said, let's just focus on what was success. Oh, I wasn't successful at all. I said, I guarantee you there were things that you were successful at. And we go through it and we find it. They suddenly start to say, oh, wow, I forgot about this. I forgot about that. They feel capable. And then that one time that they messed up, where they didn't get up to exercise, instead of saying, well, you were wrong or you were bad, it's like, well, let's understand up here, because habits only work from thoughts that are driven by belief systems. Let's look at the belief system up here in your mind that gave you permission to hit the snooze button. And then we reprogram those neural pathways in the brain by reframing, by changing the way you think. And those new neural pathways take time to create. And I have some brain hacks and mind hacks to kind of reinforce that. But I use a daily habit tool that reinforces that and helps to create those new neural pathways. And I also work on celebrating the successes. That also helps on changing and improving these new neural pathways that you're creating. And we celebrate along the way, every milestone. So what happens is, instead of this beating yourself up along the way where you're on and off, you're good, you're bad, and then you cheat and then you beat yourself up some more, none of that happens anymore. Now it's a matter of, I'm not there yet. It's a very different approach.
And I love it. It's like you can. This week I was talking with some friends, and we were talking like, okay, we can be seeing at where I want to get away, like this part I want to get away, or I can focus on okay, what I want to become, and it's like you can decide each way. The only difference is when I see where I want to get away, and I am thinking about that, my focus is on that, not on the dream outcome or what I want to become. That is the, even when it's I am very far, but it's there, and I am focusing there, and it's like very far. Okay, I am going to start to walk, looking to that. So I agree. Changing the perspective changes everything.
And you're not your thoughts, you're not your feelings, you're the self that's in between that. And that's part of becoming more aware and doing mindfulness exercises and sensory command exercises and practicing these things get you out of your head and into your body and allow you to be focused on, well, what are the three things that I'm committing to, and getting better at it. It's like practicing. Let's say you ride a bike. You know how to get on a bike now, right? Without any problems. But what if I turned the handlebar around so that every time you turned left, it would go right? You would fall. You'd have to relearn it. But it doesn't mean that you don't know how. It may take you several weeks, probably 6 to 8 months, to be as proficient as you were before, because you built the neural pathways. So I teach people that I give them permission to understand that you're failing. It's just, everyone that has kids knows this, that the first time a kid tries to walk, they fall. You don't yell at them, right? But we yell at ourselves when we are not successful. So how many times does a kid fall before they learn how to walk? Hundreds of times sometimes. So, and then that's just walking. What about running or becoming coordinated enough to play a sport? That mastery takes time. So that's part of what I think that people need to be a little bit more forgiving and give themselves a little more grace.
And we're in a world right now that people is like, I want to have everything like right now, and that's why even McDonald's and all these places are so popular, because you can have your hamburger in 2 minutes or in 1 minute. Everything is very quick. So, and it's like, okay, I like what you are saying, Ivan, and I love what you are saying, but that is going to take me a year to start to improve, and I all the thoughts that can come from this. So what happens when they start to think like, yeah, one habit at a time, but I tried before and it's not working and it's going to be too long. What do you say to that?
Well, the results don't take that. It's the same amount of time. I have clients that I'll say, forget about the diet. Let's focus on this. And they go, okay. And when they do, they come back and say, okay, I focused on, let's say, quality calories is something that I work on. And they lost like 3 or 4 pounds. They go, I didn't diet. I didn't deprive myself. I just focused on that. I can't believe I lost this weight. What happens is there's a sweet spot that people get into, that once we start the momentum, they're losing 2-3 pounds a week. And it's not about the weight. They're changing their habits. Their habits are no longer controlling them, the self-defeating ones. And their minds are not ruminating on food all day long. They're focused on, like you said, where they want to go, versus getting stuck and thinking about what they're depriving themselves of.
Mm.
And that's an amazing thing. And the other thing that happens, that's what I love doing this for, because their transformation is up here where I have a new relationship with myself. I have a new relationship with my friends, with my family, with life. That to me is more important, because it's about slowing down so you can speed up.
Mm.
Because people are just spinning their wheels. That's what this whole idea of blind imitation, of repeating the same thing they did yesterday, the day before, the day before. What if you stopped and you went deep and you said, you know what, I'm doing these things for a reason. Maybe I need to address that. And a lot of times it's what happens is people are stuck because they haven't dealt with either a trauma or a situation in their life that needs to be dealt with.
Mm.
And that's really something very easy to focus on, and easy to help people stop that vicious cycle of constantly, how would you say it? They're constantly beating themselves up.
Yeah.
They're constantly abusing themselves. It doesn't need to be that way. They need to learn to
Sabotaging at the end, right? They are auto-sabotaging, sabotaging themselves. So, in regards of, and okay, something that I have learned a lot, also with the diets, and taking a little bit of out of the mindset, and I want to see what is your approach with this. Is I agree with you. It's like you can do millions of diets. There is like all types and kinds and a lot of things. But something that for me has been very powerful is when you start to be conscious about what you are eating. And in regards of that, what I mean is think about how do you feel before you eat something, and after you eat something, how are you feeling. It's like just like, okay, eat it. It's like if you want to eat that pizza, it's okay, eat it. How, what are your feelings and your emotions before that pizza and when you finish that pizza? And normally I like to do it like even 2 hours later, just when like sells the food and you have like all the all the blood in your stomach, and suddenly like, okay, that food was not right for me. uh, until that moment you start to understand how your body works.
And part of it, yeah, and what you say is so true. It's part of that is that mindfulness when you're eating, and also I call that the rhythm of eating. I touch on there's circadian rhythms, right? We have a day, and in that day there are certain times that our bodies are ready to do things. Like we're ready to sleep at night, we're ready to wake up in the morning, and there are times when we're ready to eat, and there are times when we're ready to be really great with focus in our minds. All of these things are related to the circadian rhythm. Well, I call the rhythm to eating is related to that. I've created something called the rhythm of eating that works on creating more intentionality about hunger. How hungry are you? Do you even understand what hunger feels like? What's your appetite? Do you understand the difference between appetite and hunger? What do you feel as far as fullness after you finish eating? Do you understand? Are you in touch with those actual feelings of what it feels to be satisfied versus being stuffed? And lastly, what about pleasure? On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate that food? I was out with my son recently. We were at I thought a good restaurant. It was a great little Italian place, and we split a meal. The food, I thought it looked so good. It had such a great reputation. The food was so terrible, but I was so hungry and I ate it, and I realized, I would tell my clients to not eat this food, because on a scale of 1 to 10, it was barely maybe a 3 or 4. It wasn't like an 8. And that's the type of stuff that we're all practicing, right? We're all doing this, but it's not hard to do. But the problem is there's so much mediocrity out there that we've just given in. And I want people to become more aware and more intentional, but I also want them to then hold these restaurants more accountable to providing better food and better quality, or make it yourself, which is, that's one of the things that people don't do today. But it's, you mentioned eating and the food. There are basic principles that exist that a lot of people don't know, those basic principles around food that will either allow you to be in health or be in sickness or be overweight or be normal weight. They're very simple, but there are a lot of paths that lead to it. So there's no right or wrong way necessarily of, let's say, eating a diet, but there are certain diets that might be better for some people than others. So what I do is I created tools based on these principles so that people can maximize their health, and it can address their issues that might be specific to them. Let's say they have diabetes, have heart disease, or they're an athlete and they need more carbohydrates because they're more physically active. But what if somebody who sits all day? They shouldn't be eating the carbs because it's going to end up where they're going to have insulin resistance. So part of this is understanding all of those things. Do you really have to understand how a car works to drive it? Not really. But you want to drive a car and enjoy it. Well, that's kind of the same way. You want to enjoy what you're eating, right? You don't want to have to constantly think. So that's what I did. I created simple tools to help people drive their car, right? But when it comes to eating and still maintaining health, and we're always focused on illness. Why not focus on how do we thrive instead of constantly avoiding illness? Why not, thrive in life, feed our bodies to thrive?
So if I start to focus, like, okay, let's start to focus on thrive, and what are the things that you have seen after people started to flow all of this? Yeah, I gained some confidence in regards of food that started to improve. What are other things that you start to see that they start to feel like, oh, I start to speak up better, I start to talk with other people, strangers? What are things that you have seen to start to, there is some people sometimes say, they're like, okay, I am like this, I am going to be always like this, I don't care, and it doesn't matter that I don't want to be like doing any change of habits. But if you start to show them like, okay, what is the brighter future, and what is all the other secondary effects of being healthy, from your point of view, what could be them?
Well, and that's a loaded question, but I boil it down to two things. People really want to live with more energy and more joy.
Yeah.
I mean, if energy, when you can just tap into your body and go, I just feel great. My energy is just boundless. How many people can say that? I can tap in right now and say that right now. I just have so much energy. I feel great. I didn't have that when I was younger. I literally was falling asleep all the time. I had brain fog. So I know what it feels like to walk around like a zombie and go, why is this happening to me? The only time that I didn't feel that way was eating, which is not healthy, because I had hypoglycemia and I didn't understand how to feed my body before I learned. Because what was the doctor teaching me? The doctor said, well, you have hypoglycemia, feed your body frequently. No, what I needed was to go on a fast, an intermittent fast, or what I call time restricted eating. It has completely changed my life, changed my energy levels, given me such clarity and focus. That's a simple thing. Joy, though, joy is a different thing. Everybody wants happiness in life, but happiness I think of as transactional. It's still a great thing. But joy, that's connected to your why. When you connect people to their why, and I do this with all of my clients, we must find their why. If they tell me they don't want to change, they're not for me. They're not my market. But everybody wants to change. You just feel hopeless. But we have to get to that understanding of the layers that were created, of their identities that were created, that say those things. Oh, I'm hopeless. That's in there that belief system is in there because they were taught that from life experience, whether it was your father or your mother. They didn't do it to create this identity. They did it just because that's the way they knew how to raise you. You spill something, they go, "What did you do? You look at you. You made a mess. Clean it up." Some people, it doesn't bother them. Other people, they look at it and they take an affront to it, like, "Oh my gosh, my mother doesn't love me." But you can't say that. That mom doesn't love me. So what do? You create this belief system that allows you to still believe mom loves you, but you're not worthy of mom's love.
Mm.
I had an example of this probably to really express this at the highest level. I worked in medical devices for many years, and I worked in the inner city, and I worked in the ICUs in a burn unit. And there was a child who was crying for his mother, and he was bandaged all over his body. He could barely see any skin. And I asked the nurse, "Where's his mom?" She says, "Mom's not coming." "Well, why is he crying for mom?" I said, "Where's mom?" He says, "Mom did this to this kid."
Wow.
The kid had played with water or something on the stove, and to teach the child a lesson, she took a pot of boiling water and poured it on the child.
Wow.
Now that kid is no longer going to have that mother, but his problem was, I can't accept that my mother could be that much of a monster. I must be so bad of a person that I deserve that.
Mm.
And that belief system begins so far back. How many times? Now that's an extreme.
Yeah.
How many other layers do we create that when I do my work with people, I peel these layers back, and we must expose them for the lies that they are.
Mm.
And when you do that, amazing things start to happen, because now you can be intentional, because that food doesn't solve the problem. It's just masking over the problem. If the problem is truly self-love, if the problem is having confidence, it's just a matter of doing that work. And that's what I work with people, so that's a transformation that happens. If you can imagine somebody who had that belief system completely revamped to say, "You know what? My mom didn't know how to love me, but I'm a noble being. I'm a beautiful soul. I deserve to take better care of myself. And I'm going to have habits that I love what those habits create versus hate what those habits create."
Wow. No, that was really powerful. And something comes to my mind with that. Fear at the end is a mask for desire. And that's when you start to realize that it's really powerful, because it's like, okay, let's start to write what are your fears. No, I don't want to see them, because I'm going to. Okay, but maybe if you start to understand them, you can thrive, because they are pulling you back all the time, until you start to decide, like, okay, I'm going to take the bull by the horns, as you said at the beginning, and let's start to do what I am supposed to do. So this is really powerful. So I know that you do more things that you are focused on this, on the diet, but at the end you are not doing only diet. You are doing a lot of transformation in the mind, a lot of transformation in the lives of the people, thinking in other things. What are the other things that you do?
Well, the three pillars of my program are nutrition, which we know, right? It's mindset, attitude, which is ProAttitudes, and it's total fitness, body, mind, soul. I want people to have a whole life. So we focus on how we can help them to think, eat, and live the life they've always dreamed of. And I
Mm.
do that through my program using the B3 way, which I mentioned before: become, be strong, be grateful. So the become is that transformation. We do that work. Well, then what's the be strong component? That's where, as we make these deposits in things other than their bank account, they're making it in their emotional, physical, mental, spiritual bank accounts. They're creating dividends. It's just like when you have money in the bank, you have the freedom. Now they have the freedom to choose because they're taking better care of themselves. They're seeing themselves in a different light. And when that happens, there's still going to be things that happen in life. That's where the growth mindset, that's what be strong is all about. That's the growth mindset, understanding that you're not there yet. What do we need to do to build the attitude muscle?
Mm.
I call it the attitude muscle. So attitude muscle needs to be exercised. Just like you go to the gym and you want to build a bicep, you go to the gym and you can't just go once and
Yeah.
expect your bicep to be big and bulging. You have to go consistently, and you have to progressively overload it, or you're never going to grow. So you part of what I do is teach people how to work outside their comfort zone. But what's right outside the comfort zone? You mentioned it. It's fear. Well, what's beyond fear? Learning zone.
Mm.
So part of this is to let them know when they feel afraid that they're just need to say, well, what do I need to learn? And that learning zone is it's a reframe. Because what is the fear? The fear is there because those layers of themselves are keeping them safe. It's for survival. That what did that kid need to think that his mother, where's mommy? Mommy, I don't deserve your love. Versus mom, you're a monster. He wouldn't live. He would fail to thrive if that happened. So he had to internalize that hate inward. Well, it's really important that people understand that that attitude muscle that they're working on, it doesn't grow overnight. It takes time. And as you develop it, amazing things start to happen. You get stronger, you get more capable, you get more confident. And then lastly, the last piece is called being grateful. Gratitude changes everything.
Mm.
When you are grateful, you're living in the precious present. There's so much power to living in the present instead of thinking about the future and being fearful of what's in the future or being regretful of what happened in the past. Gratitude just grounds you in the precious present. And that is really the only thing we have total control over is what we're doing right now in this very moment.
Let's talk a little bit more about a grateful, because I believe that's like when you start to like see the things completely different. I can be with overweight and start to and seeing all the difficult parts, and all the struggles that I have to go because I don't have the energy. I don't have the like. And you are when I am at that level, I can see the good things that are happening in my life. I can see like, and there is a million of things that are good. I am not saying depending on the person, but you can always find something good. I have two little kids. One is 5 years old, and he yesterday, for example, he was like crying like crazy because one little toy that was not really working, and he was like, oh, it's the end of the world because this toy is not working. And I the only thing that I started to help him to be aware was, okay, you have 1,000 toys, I believe. I don't know how many, but a lot. And you are crying for this little one that it's even just of paper. So let's start to understand. Help me understand here. And okay, you have this and you have all of this. Do you want to throw all of this because of this? No, 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 daddy. No, no, no. Okay. What is the most important part? What do you want to focus on? On the thing that is not working anymore, or in the other things, and be grateful about it. And that's why I am talking about this, because I agree with you. Is when you start to look, and it's like again a little habit.
Hmm.
Be grateful about the tea that you have in front of you. Nothing else. I am not saying that start to see the 1 million toys that you have around you, but start with the tea. You have a tea in front of you and it's hot and it's great. Maybe it doesn't taste as good as you want, but you have a tea, and that's fine. Start with that little habit. Start to look for little things that you are grateful.
Hmm.
So you start to develop that skill of being grateful. What other things? Yeah,
I call it a gratitude muscle. It's just like the
exactly.
attitude muscle, we have to exercise the gratitude muscle. And what it does is it gets you out of that rumination of, oh my gosh, I don't have this anymore. What am I going to do? Part of the challenge is people wake up and they just react to life. They just let it happen. Part of what I do is I help people increase their awareness and create an attention on an intention. That changes life completely because now you're focused just on the precious present. Once you're in that place, when you start to ruminate or think about, oh my God, what if I can't go to the gym because I won't look good. People are going to look at me and laugh. Or what if I don't have the time to cook? What am I going to eat? Or I'm going to go out with my friends and I can't I can't let them know I'm on a diet, but you're not on a diet, right? So all these there's belief systems that need to be challenged, but part of what happens is it changes their way of seeing the world. They put on a different set of glasses.
Yeah.
And by doing that, it's practice. It's going to take practice, and creating these neural pathways. But with your son, I think that's great that you said, well, whenever that happens, even for myself, we all have temper tantrums, right? Something happens. I remember we were supposed to go to a wedding of one of our very good friend's son, and he was like a son to us. My wife got very ill, and we had to cancel like last minute. It's like COVID she had gotten, and it wasn't, but it ended up not being, but it was really a serious illness. She was fine, but we really were looking forward to celebrating with the families and being there. It was a big letdown. And I practiced what I preached. I sat down and I wrote down, what am I grateful for? And
Mm,
it got me out of that mindset. Nothing happens really that you can't control if you have the right attitude. And it's about focusing on not on your expectations, but on your anticipation. Anticipation is something that's, people don't realize. Anticipation is you don't care about the outcome. You're just anticipating this event. So I
mm,
can still celebrate that he got married and that was wonderful. I expect it to be there though. When you let go of expectations though, you don't have a disappointment.
mm,
Disappointment only happens with expectations.
yes.
So part of this is that attitude practice is something I have all of my clients do. I have a Facebook page and it's called Living the B3 Way. And it's a private group, but everybody in the group practices. I try to get everybody in the group to practice their gratitude every day. 3 things they're grateful for. And if you do it every day, it doesn't seem like it will, but amazing things start to happen because you start to see things that you never saw before.
Yes.
It's why I love gardening. I'm a gardener and I love being in the garden a couple of times a day. But in order to enjoy the flowers, you've got to see them. You got to be there. Otherwise, don't be a gardener. You can't just expect the harvest. It's the process.
Yes. So we are getting at the end of the program, and really, I have a lot of questions that I want to continue talking about. But let's start with how people can reach you, how they can connect with you, how they can start to get some of this. Like, oh, I love what Ivan was saying all the time. So I want to know more about you, what they can do.
Well, first, I've written a book, The Habits of Healthy Eating. And I think I gave you the link to they can get it on Amazon. That is a wonderful way that they can get a taste of what I do. Also, I have a link that follow link is a link tree, so you can schedule a free complimentary appointment with me. You can also see all of my channels. I post every day on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. I'm on TikTok, not on Twitter. Thank you. Uh, And also for everybody here that's watching, I'm going to offer a complimentary 10-minute training on escaping the diet trap or getting off the yo-yo dieting that people are just so crazed about. And that there's a link in there for that too. That's the free training. Just click the link and that will help you. And then the other link is Evan. Well, no, it's www.proattitudes.com/follow.
Okay, let me put it
And
here.
that will get them to and even a complimentary lifestyle challenge assessment. So if they really wanted to pinpoint what problems they're having, they can take that lifestyle challenge assessment on one of those links.
So we are going to send that in all our social medias in a minute. But if anybody has any comment or question, for sure you can also reach us. If you don't find even, I don't know where he is, you can connect with me and I will lead you directly with him, so that it's fine also. uh, and if you have some questions, just take that link that he's saying. It's like, okay, let's have a conversation with Ivan and start to understand a little bit of how this works and if I am coachable for this part or not. It's like sometimes we have some questions. If you're having these second thoughts, take it a try and start to find out exactly what you want. And so these are the two links: proattitudes.com/follow. And if you are in the TV, you can see it here. If you are in the social media, we already post the link in the social media. So Ivan, for the last 2 minutes, do you have one last comment or thing like, okay, maybe they heard half of that, maybe they didn't hear everything that you were saying, but what will Yoda said right now to them uh, to finish and to close this call today?
Um, part of what I want people to realize is that life is short. We are not guaranteed tomorrow. So, what can you do today to find more energy and joy in your life? Because that's what life is here for. We're here to experience it. I absolutely love helping people. That's what I'm here for, is to really provide that service so that people have a way out of that trap that they're in. And I think that more people have to get out of all these crazy programs that are out there and just start living their life and enjoying it one choice at a time.
So really, Evan, it was great. I hope we can have you again in the near future. We can continue
Anytime.
talking about this. And anybody that was here, really thank you for being with us. The idea, what you saw is believe in yourself, believe in your business. Is exactly what we're talking. Believe in yourself. Start believing in yourself. Start believing in you can become your best version, and you can start to live your best version, bringing the joy, bringing the happiness, the attitude, and everything to start to become who you are supposed to be here. You are a miracle here. If we start to realize that we are a miracle from the beginning and every single day with everything, there is a million of things that can happen, and we continue living. So understanding that and started to change our mindset on like, wow, I am a miracle, and I have to take advantage of that. Suddenly things can start to happen and you are going to
Mhm.
start to see life completely different. So thank you for being here. Thank you, Ivan. It was really amazing, the conversation. I knew that we were going to have a very good time. So see you next time, all.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. I'm grateful for you having me.
So So, everybody, this show can also be heard on Spanglish Radio Network. Please check out spanglishworld.ca for all the news and programming. Spanglish World, watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and leave it. Bye.